Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin tonight in Whitehorse, where the federal government, the Yukon government, and the Yukon Council of First Nations have signed an agreement to build a new detox center. The territorial government says the current one is overflowing and a second is badly needed.
So I want to thank Grand Chief for your leadership on looking at a new center, a First Nations-led detox and treatment center in Whitehorse. It's something that decades in the making, and I know that the Yukon government was happy to be part of that first step today. And I would thank the leadership of the federal government, and so we look forward to them putting the proper resources behind this so we can get a center of this type built in Whitehorse.
Pillay made the announcement in Ottawa after being asked about the ongoing opioid crisis in Mayo. That community declared a state of emergency 9 months ago. Leaders say they haven't seen enough action from the Yukon government.
They are the ones with the resources. They are the ones that will probably be tasked with bringing the professionals into the community. Even though, like I said, we've been doing a lot locally to try to help with mental health in the community, the government has to come to the table and play a bit of a bigger role in getting some concrete solutions in place.
Yukon Council of First Nations Grand Chief Peter Johnston says he's using his time in Ottawa to push the issue with the federal government. He wants more money to help people fight addictions locally. Issues like addictions don't often exist in isolation. There are many factors that may contribute towards a person's situation, and a big one is stable housing. That's another topic that came up in meetings between Yukon leaders and federal officials this week. Yukon Premier Pillay says he met with Federal Housing Minister Sean Fraser this morning and has more conversations planned in Toronto, all with the goal of tackling the housing problem in the Yukon. He spoke about that on CBC's Power and Politics. Take a listen.
We've been lucky. We've had one of the strongest economies in the country over the last half a decade. We've had the strongest population growth. And so, we have pressures on our healthcare system. We have pressures, again, on our social systems, and we have pressures on housing. So what you really have to do is look 5-10 years ahead and make sure that you're working with all the potential partners that you can. Our First Nation governments, both in our urban area in Whitehorse as well as our rural parts of the Yukon, have an opportunity to be partners with us. They have land that can be developed. We have to support them to de-risk those programs, to invest with them. We started the morning off today very early sitting with Minister Fraser to talk about infrastructure and housing and sort of what the new programs are going to look like, what the delivery models are going to be. So it's about public-private partnership. It's about making sure that all players are at the table, and really it's about making sure as well that we have long-term investment. So later this week, Thursday, I'm in Toronto, and that's focus on pension funds, REITs, others that maybe haven't played a role in the North with long-term investment, but now the opportunities there. It's a solid investment for them. I think what we've seen across the country is investment into condominiums and single detached, but what we haven't seen is a long-term view in the country where we have a large quantum of rental housing in place. And we need that as a first step, especially for individuals that are coming into our territory to work in the healthcare field or the education field. We need to have options for them.
That's Yukon Premier Pillay. A wheelchair-accessible van and money to hire a paramedic. Those are just two of the things the Yellowknife Women's Society would like the city to provide. The Society runs Yellowknife's street outreach vans. They do things like offer rides to help people get to shelters and hand out food and water. But they want to expand what they can do to help vulnerable people in the Northwest Territories capital. They asked the city for the money, and so far they've been turned down, though that decision could be debated again in February. The CBC's Mahnor Mubarak and Travis Burke recently joined the outreach workers to see what their workdays are like firsthand.
I know a medic has been requested. It has been important because we do have situations where we have to call EMS a lot of the times. So, like with us being on the road, it eliminates the RCMP calls. So if we had a medic, it would probably eliminate with us having to contact EMS all the time, just so that they can tell us they're good to go.
If saw clients that were laying on the ground and bleeding, and all we really had to do is just call the ambulance.
When they go to the hospital, it's not a quick fix, right? They're usually sitting there for hours. And with the medic can just quickly bandage them up if that's all that's required. We've got 2 vans, one's in the shop right now, but the thing is we're limited to who we can put in the van. We're getting a lot more with wheelchairs or with walkers. So our van isn't big enough for that.
Oh, the inside? Oh. My grandma used to
Magic. We have to either leave the wheelchairs behind, which we have, or we've had to take them apart and try to get them in the van. And then if we have other clients with them, we just don't have the room. So we have to take that client to where they're going and then go back and pick up.
Even if you fold it up, it's still a little bit too high and it hits the top of the van inside.
So if we did have a van where we can retrofit or have it so that it's workable for a wheelchair or even a walker.
They need a bigger truck than this. Sometimes it breaks down because there's only one van. They can't carry everybody.
That would be very helpful. Yeah. Because there's usually a lot of wheelchair people and whatnot. So yeah, it would be very helpful.
The RCMP are just happy about it because the calls have become less. And if we can do the same for the EMS, where we only need to call them when we have to, that would even, yeah.
You would reduce strain on EMS.
Exactly, yeah.
The NWT's Aurora College is looking for a new president, but the job offer is limited, and that's raising questions about the college's lack of independence. Carla Ulrich has that story.
The announcement comes less than 2 years after Glenda Vardidel took the position. She started in April 2022. At the time, the college said hiring her was a step towards an arm-length relationship between the GNWT and the Aurora College. However, the new job posting is limited to people already working for either the territorial government or the Workers' Safety and Compensation Commission. MLA for Hay River South, Vince McKay, said it doesn't make sense to limit this specific position in this way.
I could see like a limitation to the Northwest Territories, but even just a little weird too, considering that position. Knowing the GNWT, it just triggered me to think that they have somebody selected already, and they have to go through this process, just say, oh, we did this.
Board of Governors Chair Joe Hanley said they want a Northerner in the position.
Why just government? I guess it's viewed as by human resources as an internal competition. We'll see where it gets us. If it ends up that we don't get any qualified, interested people, then we would go further afield. Just wanted to give Northerners first chance.
Hanley said they are still in the process of moving arm's length from government, but that hasn't happened yet. But he does say one step they have made in that direction is that the next president will be appointed by the board, not chosen by the minister. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Smith.
After 2 years, a community in Nunavik can finally use its water treatment plant. The delays were due to the soaring cost of infrastructure and the dragging wait times for repairs in northern communities. The water treatment plant in Nunavik broke during a storm in 2021. For the past 2 years, community members have been collecting their water from trucks and a river. The trucks collected water about a kilometer outside the community. Officials say the treatment plant took so long to fix because no contractors would take the job, and the only bid on the project was 10 times the municipality's budget.
Wrapping around a project like this in 1 year is impossible. The reason is the sea lift situation. Yes, if we had roads, if we had rail, if pipeline was something we could fly in, none of those are possibilities for us.
Over the last 2 years, community members have said they sometimes didn't have access to water for several days at a time. The final cost to fix the treatment plant came in at $8 million. The Assembly of First Nations is gathering in Ottawa this week for a major reset. First Nations leaders will elect a new national chief to replace Roseanne Archibald. She was ousted from the top job earlier this year following internal turmoil. As Olivia Stefanovich reports, leaders say they're looking for someone to chart a new path forward.
The Assembly of First Nations at a crossroads, facing a decision that could shape one of the most powerful Indigenous organizations for years to come.
I am confident that the incoming National Chief will uphold our shared vision and champion stability, transparency, and good governance.
Joanna Bernard took over in the interim after the previous National Chief, Roseanne Archibald, was ousted, the first time in AFN history.
It's an opportunity to maybe restart the relationship that's been fractured over this 2+ years fiasco with former Chief Archibald.
The episode created tensions the next National Chief will have to heal, along with the aftermath of a bombshell report from the last Assembly, revealing widespread harassment and sexual misconduct within the National Advocacy Organization.
So we need a path, we need a reconciliation path internally.
New at this week's Assembly, participants are required to sign a code of conduct declaring they will be respectful.
It's been tough the last couple of years and certainly throughout all the years. I think that the AFN is going through a growth again, and I think that by bringing our elders together with our young people, they will guide the way.
All 6 candidates running for the top job say protecting staff is a top priority.
We want to reassure them too that they're safe and that the National Chief's Office fully supports them.
We want to make sure that people are being able to share what they think and share their thoughts and find a healing path so everyone can start to feel comfortable and start to feel that their voices matter.
The next National Chief will also have to bring the AFN's focus back to business, advocating and lifting up the voices of more than 630 First Nations. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
An organization representing Inuit in Ottawa introduced a new program to help cancer patients in Ontario. It's called Cancer Care, the Inuit Way. The program is run by Tunga Inuit. It's intended to provide culturally safe care, and it includes services for cancer screening and cancer prevention. The program's manager held a meeting in Ottawa this week to speak with Inuit about the new resource. They hope to integrate Inuit values into treatment and provide comfort for patients.
We want Inuit to be comfortable, to have a safe space, a safe place to go seek treatment whenever they need to, and also to be able to communicate to their healthcare providers what they want to see for their treatment as well, in a good way. And we hope that by pushing this message out there, we have more and more healthcare providers ensure they take the cultural sensitivity training to be able to do this for Inuit in Ontario.
During the meeting, attendees shared what they think is important, including interpretation services and country food for patients. Adelia says Tunga Inuit can help set up appointments for things like cancer screening and also provide other supports, including help quitting smoking. Over in Nunavik, the region's Board of Health and Social Services has launched an app to help both Inuit and healthcare professionals. The goal of the Tukisiutik app is to enhance communication between Inuit and non-Inuit health staff. It features a range of services, including a bilingual symptom index. Shirley Dupuy is the president of the Nunavik Regional Health Board. She says this app has been a long time coming.
The way I understand it, it was something that was thought about some years ago, and about 7 years ago there was a meeting of doctors, physicians, and other healthcare professionals, and out of that conversation this visionary concept took shape.
Right now, the app is only available on Apple products. It includes service in Inuktitut syllabics, English, French, and Roman orthography. In just 2 days, the Northwest Territories will have a new premier. NWT MLAs cast their secret ballots on Thursday to decide who will lead the territory for the next 4 years. There are 4 people who put their name forward for the territory's top job. We heard from 2 yesterday, and today we hear from the remaining candidates. Caroline Wozniak, MLA for Yellowknife South, and Shane Thompson, MLA for Nahende. Here are their answers to the question, why do you think you should be Premier?
I think this is the kind of role that you can hopefully earn the opportunity and earn the respect of colleagues that they'll put their trust in you to do the job. And in that respect, I do think the last 4 years I've been able to show that it is possible to take priorities, both the formal priorities, but even things that can come up along the way and convert them into outcomes over the course of that time. So, for example, in the last 4 years within my departments, and it's even on top of all of the calamities that we've all had to face, we were able to deliver on the procurement review and come out with some significant changes to our processes and have actually very positive outcomes where we now have significant more dollars staying in the Northwest Territories. So we've made a number of changes within the areas that I was responsible for, and I want to take that and make it a whole of government approach now.
I'm a long-term northerner, born and raised in Hay River. I've lived in small communities. I've worked with almost every community in the Northwest Territories, whether it was in my sport and recreation background or as an MLA and now as a minister. So I've had that experience, and putting my name forward would be a great honor.
A northern Manitoba search and rescue team dives deep to bring closure to families after drownings. As Aaron Broman shows us, their work helps people heal.
There's urgency to this November search. People from 4 Island Lake communities are helping before the lake freezes. Looking for a man who went boating the week before and didn't return home. Kurt Mason is always ready with his diving gear when he gets the call that someone's missing.
I don't ask questions. I just jump and go help out right away.
It's the second drowning victim from the region in 2 months. Using sonar and an underwater camera, community searchers found the body. That's when the dive team jumps into action. Mason always asks for a prayer before they enter the water to retrieve the body.
Since I had my wet gear on, so I jumped in the water. Maybe the water was that deep, and it was cold. And it was so cold, like ice pinching you. That's how cold the water was.
He and 2 others went about 5 meters down and found the man's body after about 10 minutes. Victor Little brought the divers back to shore, where the man's father thanked them.
They're always looking for closure. They usually give thanks and appreciate what we do.
There are 15 certified divers on the Island Lake scuba diving team. They're called Ogogik, a synonym for people who go underwater. The team grew about 3 years ago during a massive community effort to find Tammy Nadaway. The 16-year-old disappeared July 2020, sparking a land and underwater search. That's when Tanya McDougall, one of 2 women on the dive team, got involved.
I sang the water song, and I was thinking, as women, as First Nations women, we carry the water teachings.
Nadaway still hasn't been found. Her disappearance remains an open police investigation and something that still haunts the searchers. But they don't give up.
What we do, like volunteering, it comes from our hearts. It's for the people. It's for the people that we're doing this for. I just go. That's how we are. Our thing. It comes from here.
And they'll go out again to help the next family needing closure. Aaron Broman, CBC News, Garden Hill First Nation.
I'm Kathleen Goldhart, host of a new podcast, Crime Story. Every week, we bring you a different crime, told by the storyteller who knows it best. All the ins and outs.
It was a story of murder, of exploitation of a schoolgirl.
You got one witness who can't be found. You got another witness who has changed his entire story.
I remember just this feeling of complete disbelief.
Crime Story, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
You are constantly on the move, and so are we, making sense of the moments that matter together.
Looks like things are maybe winding down.
Asking what, why, when.
To the center of the biggest stories meeting the people living them.
Thank you for letting us be here. What's your situation?
Making sense of our world.
How are we going to be part of this solution?
With you and for you.
Connectedness, groundedness.
I'm Adrienne Arsenault. This is The National.
Canadians of generations have been miseducated.
But we don't talk about that.
We are here. We have been here.
These stories are us.
Yeah, dog!
Oh, an absolute classic.
All right.
Let's go! Yeah!
This is The National.
Every week, the issues that matter to Canadians.
These are acts of desperation.
Connecting politics to people.
Some people have lost everything.
Join me for Rosemary Barton Live.
The Gchen language is being sung in the Mackenzie Delta. Groups of residents in 3 communities are gathering to learn hymns. The CBC's Des Loreen has more.
Revitalization through singing hymns. They're called chiligs in the Gchen language. This group is singing in Nunavik, but they're doing the same thing in Aklavik and Fort McPherson too, learning the language through song. Organizers say they're excited to see people so engaged with the language.
But I don't necessarily look at this as a competition. I look at this as bringing or continuing to try and keep the Gchen language strong, but in the form of music.
Greenland is also excited about bringing together elders and youth.
It's so important that, we have young people learn these Gchen hymns. And I really enjoy it when I see elders such as Renee Martin, such as Alice Francis, coming to these little things and wanting to participate and hear the Gchen hymns being sung.
The Gchen Tribal Council launched the Chilig Challenge last month. They want to see how many people the communities can gather to sing.
It has our Dinjiju Ginjik, our Gchen language, and it's just a nice way of doing language revitalization. People say we learn better through song, so I think that's a really cool way of doing it.
150 hymns have been translated into Gchen as chiligs. The groups will come together in Nunavik next Saturday, December the 16th, for a regional sing-along. Des Loreen, CBC News, Nunavik.
Last week's severe weather across the Baffin and Kivedluk regions had an impact on basketball trials for the 2024 Arctic Winter Games. Due to weather-related flight cancellations, athletes from Arvit, Baker Lake, Igloolik, Pungnuktu, Kimarut, and Rankin Inlet were all unable to travel to Iqaluit to compete in the Basketball Territorial Championships. During the event, Arctic Winter Games coaches planned to pick next year's Team Nunavut. Team Nunavut's chef de mission says weather issues are common in the territory, and the team is now asking coaches across Nunavut to submit video tryouts for their athletes. The 2024 Arctic Winter Games is scheduled for March 10th to 16th in Matsu Valley, Alaska. Canadian soccer legend Gchen Sinclair is playing her final game with Team Canada this evening. It is her 331st international match. She's leading the national squad against Australia in Vancouver. The CBC's Lindsay Duncombe looks back on Sinclair's incredible career and what it means for soccer in Canada and around the world.
To understand Gchen Sinclair's legacy, look to the stands. They're full.
Just such an inspiration to all the girls. You can see where they can go and who they can become.
6,000 people turned out to watch Sinclair play in Victoria, Vancouver will see 45,000.
Because we've been idolizing Gchen Sinclair since we were really little, and to be here and be able to see her for one of her last games is really awesome.
She has drive to win. She has very good sportsmanship, and she's a very nice person on and off the field.
Back when Sinclair first joined the national team, there were no crowds.
Christine Sinclair!
Then she started scoring. The team started winning. Bronze at the Olympics in London, again in Rio. World Cup disappointments, Olympic gold. With 190 goals, Sinclair has scored more than any international soccer player, man or woman. Harjo Hall has covered Sinclair for a decade.
In Canada, Christine Sinclair, she's not just a great footballer, she's probably one of the greatest athletes our country has ever produced.
Off the pitch, Sinclair fought for the women's team to be treated the same as the men, making that case to Parliament in March.
People really listen, people paid attention because she's not someone that speaks a lot and uses her voice, but when she has something to say, you better listen.
Sinclair will continue to work with young players and help develop a professional women's league in Canada.
It's incredible to experience the change. These young kids have all the opportunities in the world now. It's exciting.
Opportunities she forged, excitement she created. And for all that, the cheers tonight will be so very loud. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop.
Christine Sinclair may be retiring, but Brenda Lee is just getting started. 65 years after her hit Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree was released, it's hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 list. It's been a classic holiday tune for decades, and Lee recorded this track when she was just 13 years old. Now, at 78, she's the oldest woman to top the list. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
Think you're a better driver when you're high? Think again. No alcohol, no drugs, no victims. A message from Mad Canada.
I want my children home where they should be.
You'll go to jail if you don't sign.
There's gonna come a time you'll feel the darkness. You don't let them win.
I understand that you're struggling emotionally.
Sure you want to do this?
I mean, it's research, right? You need to stop asking me for things I can't give you. You've done it my whole life.
Get the news you need without restrictions. Download the free CBC News.